never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist. Mission control, do you read me? Send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, am I drifting? Tie me to someone who will love me, yeah. Wait, I think I'll last a bit longer. Find another reason.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Happy Saturday to everybody. Happy Memorial Day weekend, as this is the official kickoff of the summer season. But if you're a college sports fan, then you know over the last 24 hours or so that this new deal, whatever you want to call it, that still has to be signed off on, but it's probably going to happen, is going to be pretty much the end of collegiate sports as we know it. It's no longer going to be college sports. It's pretty much now minor league, whatever the sport is. But there are still a few questions that you have to ask yourself and ask your buddies when you read about the deal. And even though I know everybody knows what I'm talking about, just in case you've missed some of it, I'll give you the key points, and then I have a couple of questions that I would like to know myself. But the NCAA signs off on a deal that would pretty much change the landscape of college sports, and that is paying student athletes. And this deal could start as early as the fall of next year. It's nearly $2.8 billion that would be paid, put over the next decade, to $14,000 to former and current student athletes. The announcement was made with the commissioners from all 5 Power 5 conferences. So that pretty much tells you that it's just the Power 5 conferences. So if it's a player that played in the Mountain West or Conference USA or the WAC or Big East, any of those, forget it. But there was a statement that said this landmark settlement will bring college sports into the 21st century, with college athletes finally able to receive a fair share of the billions of dollars of revenue that they generate for their schools. And that was said by Steve Berman, one of the lead attorneys for the plaintiffs. And then Michael McCann, who is a legal analyst and a sports reporter at Sportico, said the following: going forward is that college can opt in, conferences can opt in as well to pay players to share revenue with them, to have direct pay And that would be, of course, a radical from the traditions of college sports. And like I said, that's a statement from Michael McCann, who is a legal analyst and a sports reporter at Sportico. But they talked about the money being paid out over pretty much the next decade to 14,000 former and current student athletes, but it doesn't give details on what sports they played. Now, first of all, if you follow the channel, you know that I have been completely against this from the beginning. Before it ever got announced a couple of years ago that players would start getting paid, I said it's a bad idea because all athletes, in my personal opinion, even though they weren't getting paid, were pretty much getting paid because you had a free scholarship. And scholarships are very, very, very expensive. And if your school is giving you a free scholarship and they're feeding you every day, that's the same as getting paid because you're not losing any money. And I said that once it starts, it's going to get out of control. Same thing I said about the transfer portal, and it's happened just like I thought it would. But the problem is, are these only football players? Are they only baseball players? Are they basketball players? Or is it also volleyball players, lacrosse players? Because if you're a school and you're going to pay student athletes, it's not fair to only play the players that play the three major sports. And really two, because supposedly at the collegiate level they claim the only two sports that make any kind of money are football and basketball. But if you're going to pay student athletes, then you have to play all of them. You have to pay the ones that play golf. You have to pay the ones that play tennis. Otherwise, you're showing favoritism and you're only paying certain sports. And if you're not going to pay the ones that play golf and lacrosse and volleyball or rugby and other schools that have other sports, then you might as well shut down those programs because they're coming to your school to play that sport. So if you're only going to pay football and basketball, or football, basketball, and baseball, then just get rid of every other sport except those three. Otherwise, you're showing favoritism and you're only paying players that play the big sports. But if you do come out and say, hey, we're going to pay every athlete at our school, whether you're a football player or a swimmer, whether you're a basketball player, or even if you're just nothing but a itty bitty tiny for the schools that have swimming, you're still a student athlete. But then you're going to have the players that play football say, hey, we should make more than a lacrosse player. There's no reason why I'm making the same amount of money as a tennis player. But then you're going to have the baseball players come out and say, wait a minute, baseball is the longest sport there is. We play for the longest amount of time, and we play the most games. We should make more than anybody. So you're setting yourself up either way for failure, because you have to, if you're going to be fair, pay the players for every single sport that you have. But then if you do that, then you're going to have the guys that play and the girls that play the bigger sports say that they should make more money because their sport revenues more money. So since their sport revenues more money, they should make more money. So I think either way, it's going to be a struggle because you set yourself up now that no matter what you do, it's wrong, because if you're only going to pay football players, basketball players, and maybe baseball players, then there's no point in having any other sport. Because, first of all, the people that come along that play golf, that play tennis, that play volleyball, or any other sport, they're not going to want to come to your school because they know they're not getting paid to be there to play, whereas the basketball players are. So all of a sudden, they're not going to want to come there because they feel like they're being treated unfairly because they're not getting paid to play, whereas the football players are. But if you do pay those players, well, then the football players and basketball players are going to say, that's not right. They're making what I make, and my sport's a lot more dangerous. My sport makes more money. So are they going to come out and say, hey, if you play football, you'll make this amount of money, but if you play lacrosse, you're going to make this amount of money? There's going to have to be, even if this gets signed off on, there's going to have to be something where they come out and say, hey, we're going to pay all of our athletes, but we're going to pay you based on the sport you play, or we're going to pay you based on the position you play, or something. Otherwise, you're going to have to pay every single student athlete, no matter what sport they play, the same amount of money, because you didn't come out and say you're going to make this much for this sport, this much for this sport. If you don't do that, you're going to have to pay every single athlete the same amount of money, whether they play golf or football. It's not going to matter. Any thoughts on any of this, please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. My daughter doesn't understand cloning. I looked at her and I said, that makes two of us. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of three. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.